Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, from time to time, I still got people trying to make argument that the dollar is not dying. It's dying. You see the values of things go up. It's not because they're more valuable. It's because the dollar has less value. And I'll make my point, but you should be buying gold and silver because they are the one thing that actually retains its purchasing power, its wealth. Before I get started, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. Speaking of gold and silver, if you are ready to buy gold and silver, and you should be, go check out our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and it will give you a free half ounce of silver. Now is the time. A quick peek at cryptos shows you that they're slowly but surely creeping back up. Yeah, they're going up and down, but the overall average, they have been slowly climbing a little at a time. If we take a look right here, this is November the 7th of 2021. They were up here about $67,566. They were way up there. Everybody was happy. They were happy to drop down here around $35,000. So our new low is $35,030. Well, that was on January the 21st. That's 10 days ago. You can see right here, ever since then, it just has slowly but surely heading back up. So don't let the look of the graph fool you. You got to put things in perspective. And it has been in a positive direction now since the 22nd of January. That's a good sign. At least it's slowly but surely creeping back up. Again, if you watch my video about the Wyckoff, then you're going to see that we're starting to get into February here. We're talking about somewhere after the first week of February, according to the chart. If nothing knocks it off its track and it continues to follow the same patterns, well, then you're going to start to see cryptocurrencies really take off. So Bitcoin's now at $38,473. Ethereum's at $2,684. Cardano is at $1.04. Solana is at $100. XRP's at 60 cents. Polkadot at $19.47. Dogecoin at 14 cents. I think that's a steal right now. Shiba still 4021. That crypto does not move one way or another very quickly. It moves pretty slow. You look at the 52-week average, they're starting to make a move from the bottom side of it, at least to the halfway mark. So we look at Saitama at 7031. They really started to take off. They gained a pretty good chunk of their value back. It's down 8.6% at the moment. Over the last hour, it's down 1.1%. Like I said, 8.6 over the last 24 hours. But over the 7-day average, it is up 11.9%. And over the last 14 days, on average, it is negative 26%. And over the last 30 days, it is negative 34.5. So at least it's regained some of its value. Again, they're just working out their kinks. And once it gets done, they're definitely going to take off. I don't have any doubt about it. So taking all things in consideration, if it continues to follow the Wyckoff, then Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptos, they're getting ready to take off. If it goes accordingly to the Wyckoff chart. Now again, there are other factors that might interfere. Inflation, interest rate hikes, the whole 9 yards. We'll keep an eye on it, but I'm anticipating that crypto is going to start moving back up again. They've already started, actually. They're just doing it at a slow pace. There's no major, huge jump in the numbers, but even so, it's at least heading in a positive direction. Silver for the day, it is currently at $22.46. January the 20th, it was looking real pretty, but ever since then, it's definitely dropped. It went from $24.68 down to $22.48. So you're looking at $2.20 loss in value in that short period of time. But when it comes to precious metals, there's no reason to panic. Again, keep in mind what's going on. We are seeing record numbers of purchase for gold around the world. Same thing with silver, and the supply is low. Don't let the market value fool you. And it shouldn't discourage you neither. Right now, just look at it as being on sale. You can see that the premiums are higher now than when the silver was higher in value last year during the silver squeeze. So that means the market is being supported at those levels. Looking at gold at $1,797.60. Same thing. Look at this. You get over here like on the 25th, and not even a week ago, gold is at $1,853. Dropped all the way down to $1,781, but since then has gained slightly and continues to move back up. So what's going on with gold and silver prices? Obviously, they're being manipulated. But let me show you, because people ask me all the time, when I say the dollar is dying, not to pay attention to the paper market value of gold and silver. Gold and silver has way more value than just the number that you're seeing on the market. One of the things I had a discussion with people, because they're saying, no, Pimpy, look at houses are way more valuable. Stocks are way more valuable. I mean, people are getting paid more money. I was like, yeah, but see, you're measuring things in currency. You having a house that's worth more money, you getting paid more money at your job. It makes you feel good and you're warm and fuzzy on the inside, but that doesn't mean the money itself has gained value. The purchasing power is weaker now than it ever was before. The fact that you're seeing the values of these things go up, really what they mean is that the value of the dollar is weaker. It takes more dollars to make up for its losses. When you take a look at your wages, you have to realize that the real income hasn't changed since the 70s. Sure, the numbers look good, but it hasn't changed at all. So what is real income? Real income is how much money an individual or entity makes after accounting for inflation, and is sometimes called real wage when referring to an individual's income. Individuals often closely track their nominal versus real income to have the best understanding of their purchasing power. So what are we talking about again? Well, it's the amount of money that you make after inflation. So sure, you're looking at your checks and you think it's bigger, but they're not. This is the real average real income growth. Look at this, since the 70s. This is the baseline of zero. Goes up, goes down, goes up. It hasn't changed. I mean, if you average this out, since the 70s. So in other words, what you're making at your job, have we gained any growth other than the numbers look good? You're not really gaining anything. You think you are. You're getting more money, but everything else is more expensive. So are you really gaining? What you should be focusing on is, does your dollar today buy the same amount of stuff that it did even 5 years ago? How, in this case, even 2 years ago? That's what you're really looking at. Of course you're getting more dollars because the dollar is losing its purchasing power. 1971. Let's just use this as an example. What was the cost of a loaf of bread in 1971? Well, we could look at more than that. So in 1971, bread cost 25 cents a loaf. You could buy a gallon of milk for $1.32. Gasoline was 44 cents a gallon. A car cost you $2,700. This is 1971. A new house, a new home, cost $28,300. So here's what I want to show you. Obviously, houses today, it costs more money for the same house. It's not because it went up in value. It's just by looking at this, you can tell your dollar doesn't buy the same thing. And I want to hear, well, Pimpy, over time, blah, blah. No. The reason why everything goes up is because the dollar continues to lose its value, because you need more of them in order to buy the same amount of things you could back in 1971. So if we look at gold and silver, we're just going to use gold as the example. Because I always say, oh, they go, well, if that's the case, then when gold goes up in value, it's the same as these things. No, it's not. Because precious metals hold their purchasing power. They don't lose it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We look at the 100-year history of gold prices. Go down here to where? 1971. On average for the year, gold per ounce was $40.80. So let's take a look. 1971, a new house, $28,300. $28,300. Divided by the value of gold in 1971 was $40.80. Well, that means you would need 693.6 ounces of gold to buy that house. So is gold holding its purchasing power? Well, okay, let's say we have today those same 693, we're rounded up, we'll call it 694 ounces. So we have 694 ounces of gold. Will it buy a house today? Did it hold its purchasing power? Well, let's take a look. 694 ounces. So take your 694 ounces, multiply it by today's current value according to the markets of gold, which is $1,797.50, and you sold your 694 ounces of gold because you want to buy a house, well, how much money would you have to buy your house with? Oh, looky there. $1,247,465. Do you think that's enough to buy a home? Because 694 ounces of gold would have bought you a new home back then. Will that same 694 ounces of gold buy you a home today? Yep. Yes, it would. This is what I'm talking about when I say it doesn't lose its purchasing power. You've seen me doing videos where I'm comparing home values back in 1932. So we just did one for 1971, and I'll remind you the 1932 one. So when gold was just a little above, I think it was $20 an ounce, and we divided it into a home back then in 1932, you could buy a brand new house for $3,600. When you divided it, it turned out that you would need 177 ounces of gold to buy a new home back in 1932. If you have those same 177 ounces of gold today, you would have $318,157.50. Would that buy you a new house today? Of course it would. So even if I show you the example from the 1930s or do one from 1971, you could see that through those years, gold has continued to keep its purchasing power. This is why you should hold precious metals. So why are the house values changing? Because you're like, no, they go up in value, Pimpy. Well, no, the cost of labor is more. The cost of supplies are more. So the cost to build a home costs more. And you get paid your paycheck, and what do we find out? That your real income has not changed since the 70s. So if I took a house from 1971, the same design, it would cost me more to make it today than it would have back in 1971. Why? What is going up is the cost of labor, and the cost of labor affects the other markets. Sure, people want their profits, but if you're paying somebody in 1971 $1.75 an hour to work versus today, you're paying somebody, oh, I don't know, 30 something dollars an hour. You see the difference? What's changed? The purchasing power went down. So I have to give you more dollars, more of those cheap fiat dollars, in order for you to maintain any real standard of living. So the thing that changes most of all is the dollar being paid for labor and the dollar being used to buy the supplies. The dollar has no purchasing power. But what has changed about the loaf of bread? What has changed about it? Still bread. You still make it the same way. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed with bread to justify its increase in cost. The only thing that's changed is the labor cost in order to make it. I hope that makes sense. But as you can clearly see, gold never loses purchasing power. I took the cost of a house from 1932, took the value of gold from 1932, told you how many ounces of gold you would need to buy that house in 1932, and could you buy a house today? Yes, you could. I showed you a house cost from 1971, took the value of gold from 1971, divided it in there, and then said, if we had those same amount of ounces today, would it buy you a house today? Actually, from 1971, you definitely could buy a very, very comfortable house, but you could still buy a nice, decent home from 1932 ounces. Do you see where I'm going with this? It holds its value. So although the dollar amount changes over time for gold and silver, its purchasing power does not change. What we're seeing an increase is true value of the metal. Gold and silver have real value. The fiat dollar does not. So when I keep saying that the dollar is dying, that's what I'm talking about. And not only that, people are getting away from the US dollar all around the world. And the one thing that did give it its strength was the fact that countries around the world use the US dollar. And when you don't, there's repercussions. Lebanon, they wanted to get away from the US dollar. They took out Gaddafi. Saddam Hussein, the same thing. And now what's happened? What do we remember in 2020, 2021? Putin paid off his debt to the Rothschild family and booted the bankers out of there. They no longer control their central bank. Russia controls their central bank. And that's a no-no. And now all of a sudden you can see, what are we trying to do? Yeah, pick a war with Russia. See how that works? The only way the US dollar can stay strong is if all countries buy into it. But as you can see, if you try to get away from the US dollar, then we'll magically come up with a reason to have to attack you, create a war, and make up some reason why we did it. We know it's a lie, but we just can't have you getting away from the Rothschild family, and we definitely can't have you getting away from the central bank's grip on your country. Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. I hope that makes sense. Hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. And I'll catch you later. I'm out.